record. Let me hit that. Okay. Creepy voice. There we go. All right. Continue on. So
Got it.
wrestling with brother.
Yes. So he was like, Julia, you have to join. And I actually tried out for the volleyball team, and being 5'2", you know, that wasn't going to be a career for me. So I didn't make it. And I just kind of battled with doing that for a long time. And it was really funny. The moment that actually made me realize this is what I needed to do, it was like the summer going into freshman year where I had to decide what I was going to do. I body slammed one of my best friends, and she, like, I knocked the wind out of her. And in that moment, even though it was kind of like, are you okay? I was like, I have to do this. I know I'm going to be good at this.
Yeah.
So I wrestled from 15 to 18. I went to the state competition 3 out of the 4 years that I wrestled. And it was absolutely incredible. It definitely shaped who I am now.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just completely fell off. You know, the training for that was pretty insane and very similar to bodybuilding. And it was a lot for a high schooler to be running cross country in the morning, training for weightlifting in the afternoon, doing wrestling after that. And then sometimes I'd go to an additional practice because I was the only girl on the team.
Yeah.
I would go to a practice with another girl at another school to wrestle with her because I was the only girl. So it was a lot, and that and the diet.
I was going to say, did you have to make weight for that? Right.
Yes. And that's when I was a whopping 110 pounds. I now weigh like 150 in the off season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to cut weight in order to get into my category. And that's what I noticed now, years removed, that was what caused me to have such a terrible problem with binge eating. So
which I'm hoping we can get into if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite topics to talk about for sure, because it's so prevalent.
Yeah. Which
in bodybuilding.
I'm adjusting volume here. So that's why I'm popping in and out.
You're good. But yeah, so that's kind of where that led me. And then weirdly enough, I did the complete opposite thing, and I went to cosmetology school to become a hairdresser.
Right. Because your mom does it too.
Yeah. Yep. And I loved it, you know, while I did it, but I wasn't passionate about it. Like, I didn't go into work so excited for the day. Every day now is different for me, and I love it. And I just couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. And I thought, okay, well, when I move from being an assistant to a stylist, then I'll be happy. It was the whole, I'll be happy when, and I wasn't happy even when I moved up to being a stylist and was doing well. So then I wish I could say I quit. I up and left, and
how did your parents deal with that? Because I know you talk about that a little bit in one of your videos about how your parents were like, wait, what? You want to be
They literally thought I was going crazy.
I'm sure. Because my dad still doesn't even know what I do. He's like, oh, you still do that weightlifting thing? Like, I have ethnic parents, and they're just like they're not not on par with, they're still trying to feed me bread and cheese all the time I come over, you know?
Yes.
And so they're just like, they've been to a couple of my competitions, but they're still like, what? I don't really get it.
It's a hard thing for, I think, parents to grasp, especially since at that time where I was making this huge change, I was actually dating someone that I was going, like, my parents were like, yes, you can marry him. Okay. So I came home one day to my parents, and I was like, I'm quitting my job at the salon, and I'm breaking up with my boyfriend. How do you feel about that? Because for me, this had been building up for such a long time, and I knew that it is what I needed to do in order to be happy. And they, of course, were like, oh my God, you're leaving your stable job, freaking out. But now they're literally my number one fans, and it's the best feeling.
Yeah, your parents are super supportive, which is awesome. It's so important. I talk about that a lot in the podcast, about having like a support system, and like, you know, if you're close with your family, them just not necessarily they have to agree with it, but as long as they just like support you and they're like, hey, you do you, they're not trying to sabotage you. It's, you know, it's a huge piece of the success with bodybuilding for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I don't want to say like they weren't 100% on board to begin with, because like, you're a parent, you're scared for your child. You want them to be safe. You want them to stay in a secure job and not be what they called me crazy at the time. But
which it is. I mean, you know, if my kids came home, you know, I have adult children too, and they came came to me, I'd probably question it too.
Yeah. You'd be like, are you
if
okay?
I didn't understand it, but people do that when they don't understand certain things, because like I always try to tell people, my parents come from like a hardworking, like, your parents, like they're in your mom's in a salon. And my dad's like, he's a ranch hand. And so he does things like physical manual labor. And he'd come to my house and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm working. He's like, you're in your pajamas on the computer. And I'm like, no, this is how I make my money.
It's so awesome.
Yeah. And
it's hard to get them to see that, because they literally grew up so differently than we did.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand. But they're now like my diehard fans. They come to all my shows. They text me all the time about how proud they are. My dad never shuts up about me. He's the cutest thing. That's awesome. It means the world to me that they care. But the one thing that I always say is like, you can't expect people to be on your team right away. And what I mean by that is like, sometimes you got to prove yourself, sometimes you have to give people a reason to be on your team.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And I feel like time and time again, I just showed up and showed them that anything that I want to do, I do it. And I will show you that I will do it.
You're determined.
Then after they can see, I'm so determined. Yeah. And they saw that and they were like, okay, we're on board.
Okay, so you broke up with
speaking of that, dad is calling right now.
I'm surprised my dad, he's always he calls me almost every day too. So that's great. Having a close relationship with him is awesome.
Yep.
But, so you broke up with your salon life and you went all into bodybuilding.
Yes.
So after you stopped wrestling, did you stay in the gym, relatively speaking, like training and doing all the things, or did you just like say screw it and you
I said
rebelled?
Screw it.
You rebelled. Yeah.
Everything was the complete opposite. I would drive to work, put my makeup on in the car, pick up 2 of the biggest tacos I can find. And they have something here in Texas called the Texas size at a coffee bean. I would get like the Texas size coffee, and that would be my breakfast. And then sometimes I wouldn't even eat throughout the day. And if I did, it would be a burger stand because it was right close to the salon. And I was just, and the thing is that it's not even that my body didn't look like an athlete anymore. It was that I felt like I lost myself. And when I started bodybuilding again, and I realized like, after looking in the mirror and saying, this isn't who you are, that I really, truly had lost myself. And now I'm never been so in touch with who I am than I've ever been.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's hard switch because it's like an identity, right? Like this was a part of your identity. You did wrestling for so long and then it's gone. And I can relate to that just with bodybuilding, like it's such a like interwoven part of like my DNA at this point that like, I'm like, what am I going to do? I had 2 athletes competing this weekend and there was a gal backstage who was like, I think she was 60 competing. And I'm like, that is so going to be me.
That's so awesome.
It's probably going to be me because I just like, I don't know it's like, I'm a robot. I'm a bodybuilding robot, which, you kind of have to get into in this sport. You have to kind of hit robot mode at some point in prep.
Definitely. Just tunnel vision for what you want and do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know a lot of people were super curious, especially after they went sort of down the rabbit hole of your Instagram, and you have, I think it's a reel where there's like your starting point to now. And it's so incredible to me because, you think a lot of times now with wellness, it's like, girls who are already genetically gifted, or they played softball or they played soccer, they have these like massive legs already to begin with. And if you see your start to now, it's just crazy, crazy, crazy. So what did your training look like when you started? Because you started competing in wellness, right?
Yes. And then I think that was what really set me up for success, is that once I found out that wellness was going to be at the 2021 Olympia and that they were going to start to bring it into the States, my fiance, or my coach, now fiance, was like, that's where you need to be. And so we immediately started training for it. I even competed in my first show ever as a figure competitor. And I didn't know that. I didn't even train for figure. I was just training for wellness.
Okay.
But I wanted to do a show where I could just like test it out.
Yeah. I have 2 athletes I've done that with. Yeah. They crossed over and just kind of tested the waters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that's how I did it.
So your training, when you started, what did it look like? Did you have structure to it, or did you always have Zach coaching you? How did that all kind of evolve in the beginning?
So in the beginning, it was all me. I was doing everything by myself. I was just dieting myself, and I just studied a lot. Like I dove into learning about this thing and got so mesmerized by how cool it was. And that's the one thing that I think that people just don't do anymore. Like they just go and search outside of themselves for all the answers, whether it's through influencers, which is okay, because I did the same thing. I was like, what are you doing? I need to know, like, how do you train? But you could do so much researching just on your own. And yes, a lot of this is a lot of trial and error, and it's just part of it. Sorry, it really is. So I did that trial and error, and then started finding girls' physiques that were more muscular. And I was like, whoa, that's a thing. I want to be like that. And now here I
am. Here you are, the fairy quad mother of them all. So how many shows have you done? Because I know you just got your pro card not that long ago. I think we got our pro cards the same year.
So in the NPC, I've only done 3.
Okay.
Yes. So the first show I did was Summer Shredding in 2020, which is Alphalite's show that they do, and they don't have wellness. They had figure, but I really wanted to just be a part of that community. And it's a really good starter show for anybody who's wanting to get into bodybuilding before they go into like the NPC. And so that's where I did it. And then I did my first show. I won overall at the Adela Garcia 3 weeks later. And then I did a national show and I got 5th, then came in tighter and then got 1st for my pro card.
Yeah. And your show that you have coming up, because this has changed.
Yes.
Because I followed the storyline.
Oh yeah.
So the show that you're doing, have you shared that yet?
Yeah. Well, I haven't showed it. Have I? I think I shared it on YouTube. I don't mind sharing it, but I was going to do the Pittsburgh Pro, which is literally in like couple weeks, but I just told them I have to be ready, and I'm not going to be ready, and I'm not going to push myself into a show where I can't put the best package forward. So Zach and I decided that we're going to do the Miami Muscle Pro show June 4th.
Okay.
8 weeks out.
Okay. Are you excited for that?
Oh yeah. And
have you ever been to Miami?
I have. I think it's just so much. I think it'll be even more fun. Miami, Pittsburgh, like
exactly.
More fun for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so you're competing in your 8 weeks out.
Yes.
And something that I really loved about in general about your YouTube is the transparency that you hold there and the space that you hold there. Not to mention, like, you're a girl after my own heart. You burp on camera, you have all these silly moments, and like, you're like, don't edit that. That's me. For real. My podcast editor's like, he texted me last week. He's like, hey, do you want me to edit the burps out of here? And I was like, no, you can just leave those in. It's fine.
I'm dying. So my mom watches my YouTube channel, and she is very elegant and ladylike. And she gets so mad that my videographer doesn't edit out my burps. And I'm like, Ma, that's me. That's what it's about. She's like, well, I wish you would edit them out.
It's great. It's great. I love it. It just cracks me up every time. But one of the most, I think what got me in the feels and was watching one of your videos, and you went to an expo and I think you went by yourself. And I was like, oh, she's kind of an introvert too. And so, which is funny because like people don't, for myself personally, they don't think that, because I'm like so open on social, and I'm like half naked on social with all my bodybuilding shit. And, and then, my podcast is a little on the vulgar side, and I talk about all kinds of crazy things. And then they meet me and I'm like, I'm pretty quiet. I'm not gregarious and like over the top. And I have like a little bit of social anxiety. So like, when you were saying like, oh, I went to the expo and I just like, you just came back to the hotel room, I'm like, that 100% would be me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have many panic attacks going into big events and situations.
Yeah.
It used to be so bad to where I wouldn't really go or do anything. I never in a million years thought I would be doing what I do, because I was never able to talk in front of people, to talk on camera. That's not something that comes naturally to me. All of these things were skills that I forced myself to build. And I even remember Zach and I filming a video together before I did YouTube, and we kept breaking and breaking and breaking because I was getting so frustrated and nervous. And he was just like, la, 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 on camera. And I was like, I am Julia. I like working out. And
I am awkward.
I am awkward. I don't want to be here. But now it's so different. And I still get social anxiety when I go places, but I have like a routine that I do before I go in to kind of center myself and be like, all of this is what you love. And, you know, you must care about it, because if you didn't, it wouldn't make you feel this way. But yeah, for sure. I'm like, go in. All right. I'm out. Going home. I can only take so much stimulation at one time.
I'm the same way. And I have to like, I don't know if you're like this, but like the next day I'm like almost hungover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For
sure. I have to like, I'm like, don't talk to me. I can't. I did too much peopling yesterday.
I did too much peopling.
Too much peopling, and I have to recharge the batteries.
For sure.
For me, I know when it creeps up, like, I don't know if you experience this, but how is it for you when you're backstage? Because for me, like backstage, I'm like, it's a lot of nervous energy. And like, I absorb that. I don't know if you resonate with that, but I absorb other people's like nervous energy. And so most of the time I try to stay like kind of out of the backstage area. And then like, I'll kind of like, you know, want to listen for numbers and call outs and things like that. But how does it affect you, or do you just kind of get in the zone?
I'm kind of the person that I typically like to be alone in almost everything that I do. And yeah, I really do feel the energy of other people around me. Like, for example, where I got my pro card, I was with two friends that were also competing in wellness in my category. And one of them was super chill, just in the zone. The other one, I can feel how anxious she was. She was very fidgety, and I could feel myself taking it on a little bit. And then really, I just had to like create this invisible barrier around me to just center myself in what I'm here to do for me, for my prep and for my journey. And yeah, it's crazy what having that pre-show routine, almost like a meditative state, can do for your performance on stage.
Yeah. Because I get, if I get any kind of like anxiousness or jitters or anything, it is all over my body. Like I hold water in my midsection. I just look watery. It's just like it's not good. So I have to go like straight bubble. I don't want to be sharing room with anybody who's going to be potentially causing me, any kind of drama or anything like that.
Yes.
So when you get on stage, do you have like a persona? Because first of all, you've just been releasing a lot more video with your posing, which is absolutely chef's kiss, like magnifique. Like you have such a beautiful like grace and flow, and not to mention obviously your physique is crazy. But is there something do you like snap into a persona, or do you just have like a mantra or something that you tell yourself before you step on stage?
I would say for me, I think that everybody has a different personality on stage. And for me, it's the like, I'm going to fucking destroy you.
It's kind of a little bit of that. It's kind of like, I'm going to eat you.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm coming for it. Like, I'm hi, you guys came to watch me. That's what I get. And it's not in like a cocky, it's like a very confident, just like,
I'm here to do what I came here to do.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I said that's what I tap into for sure when I'm posing in practice, or when I'm filming, or whenever I get on stage. And I didn't have that persona until this prep, because
it just kind of switched.
Yeah, it just happened this prep, because I think that I never came into bodybuilding with the intention of being a pro, and I never came into bodybuilding with the intention of making anything of it at all. It was never the goal. But then when I started competing and I started realizing that I was worthy of being on stage with the top Olympians, I think that's when this persona came out, like, I deserve to be here just as much as you do. Don't fuck with me. I love you. I wish you well, but also don't fuck with me.
Yeah. And I honestly do think you are coming out as one of the pros that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I don't say that lightly, like on the pro stage, 100%.
I just got chills for sure.
I did too. I'm like, you know, there's like it's like the total package, right? Like you have the sultriness about it, the femininity, you know, just the alabaster like skin, just in the glow about you, just all of it just radiates. And I think you know, not to mention the personality, which is you, just like transparency, but it comes out, you know, like when you're posing, you just see like, oh, she's all about this right now. And it's going to be really, really fun. I can't wait. I can't wait for you. I'm more excited for you to compete than I am to compete. I'm like, this is gonna be
excited
awesome.
too. It's going to be an incredible year for sure. It's going to be a really long year, but you know, this is what I love to do. And even though it's going to be so much work from basically here until December, like there's nothing else I would rather be doing.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
And I have like mad respect for someone who puts shit into the universe, like Road to Olympia, right? And people are like, oh, you made it. And you're like, oh no, but I'm gonna.
It's already happened. It's in here. It's in there. It's going to happen.
Yeah. And you just act as if, right?
Yeah.
Like you just do the things every day and act as if. So, mad props to you for doing that. I love it.
It's literally been my formula since I started. After I quit my salon, I've been doing the same exact formula to get the things that I want in my life. And it's worked every single time.
And you're just in go mode right now. Yeah. That's awesome. What do you, so I know you mentioned, just to kind of go into your binge eating, support group, right? Because I would like to link up everything that you have access to and people can get in touch with you at the end. But before we get to that, how did you segue into this being now your lifestyle? Because you have a robust YouTube community, you have a phenomenal amount of followers and a cult-like following on Instagram, and you've made this into your career. And I know people see you now, but like, what did that look like in the beginning for you? Like leaving the salon and merging into being like a coach and having these programs and all these things. And I believe you have a journal now too, right?
I do.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy when you say it like that, because there's so many times where I just don't think that I've gone anywhere, done anything.
Girl, you have.
That's just us being human, right? We never think that we've done enough.
Oh yeah. I have that same curse. Trust me.
Yes. I would say, I mean, like if I could just give you a picture of what it is now versus then I was, you know, living off of ramen, trying to make it by, living in an apartment with 3 other girls, moved here from Austin because I was like, I ain't living in San Antonio no more, and just working for somebody and always making, you know, money for other people, and being so just sad and depressed and lost. And I didn't know why. And it was because I wasn't living my life's purpose. And that's what it looked like from there. And it was like I was walking with my eyes closed. I was living with my eyes closed. And now I can see the world for everything that it is. And I can inspire other people. You know, I have a huge Instagram following, TikTok following, YouTube following. I have a journal out. I do coaching programs, posing, and I'm a pro bodybuilder. Like I never thought that this is what my life would be like. Yeah. And now I can't see, like I wasn't supposed to do anything else. This is what it was supposed to be.
Everything happened the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did you start with, did you just start with YouTube or Instagram? Like where did you catch momentum the quickest?
I started on Instagram, and then I moved to TikTok, and then I moved to YouTube. So YouTube was actually last.
Okay.
And that was more so going back to the insecurity thing, lack of confidence, and shyness on camera. That's what I wanted to do from the beginning. I wanted to start a YouTube channel right after I quit the salon, but I stood in front of the camera and was like, I'm not posting this. And so it took a while to get into that. So my momentum kind of started on Instagram. I do most things when I want something in this world. I dive into the research on how to grow your Instagram, you know, how to build a following, how to build a community, and how to like really feel connected to your followers. And I've done those practices for as long as I guess I started with like 800 followers maybe in 2019.
That's crazy. You're almost at 150,000.
Yeah.
I showed my son last night. I'm like, this is who I'm interviewing tomorrow. He's like, Mom, she's an influencer. I'm like,
oh my God, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that's kind of, where I started it there. I just, the main things that I focused on was being consistent, connecting with my audience on stories and Instagram DMs. And that's the thing that I think I do that a lot of people don't, is like, I answered all my DMs. No matter how many I get, I answer them all, because these people are taking time out of their day to engage with you and to ask you and to be a part of your journey, and you're not going to answer them? What?
Right. I agree. I completely agree. And I have mad respect for people that have, you know, a huge following like that take the time to do that, because I have a fraction of the followers that you do. And just depending on the post or the story, I mean, sometimes I open that up and it's like 30 messages. And for me, 30, I'm like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. I can only imagine, you know, it probably takes a lot of your time. So connecting is, you know, it's the currency for sure.
It is. And like, I literally have conversations with everybody from TikTok to YouTube to Instagram all day, every day. So that's why they do feel so connected to me, and like they really are a part of the journey, because they're not just a number on a follower, like we're friends.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you find the most trolls? Because I'm sure TikTok. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense, because my oldest son wants me to have a TikTok. My youngest is like, if you get a TikTok, Mom, we are going to be in charge of it, because people are going to be rude and we will go to bat for you. I was like, oh, whatever. I can't imagine adding one more social media thing right now, but, so how do you deal with that? Are you just over it at this point? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I had very many to start, but now it's getting to the point where it's frequent. But it's like, at this point, anybody could say anything to me, and I'm like, it bounces off me like,
good.
Boing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a while to get there. Of course, like, the thing about us humans is we can get 100 compliments, but we stay up all night thinking about that one person that says your left knee looks wonky.
Yeah.
You're like, what's wrong with me?
Yep. And you're contemplating everything you're doing, and it's bad. I've had my fair share too. So I feel you. I'm right there with you, but I'm the same way now. I'm like, if you don't like it, I can show you where that little unfollow button is, and you just can unfollow me. It's that easy.
It's that easy.
Yeah. So, so you have this great, you know, platform, and you're sharing your experiences. You're very vulnerable. And, something that I wanted to revisit was your story on the binge eating and how you're helping people now, because you have a support group for that. And I think that's super helpful, because, you know, that's something that a lot of people struggle with in silence and they don't share. And to have a community or somebody that can relate, especially in your position, is very impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, how did I start it?
Yeah.
So I think I actually realized that it was a problem, because the first show that I was supposed to do was canceled 3 weeks out. And
the COVID situation.
And, you know, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it made me realize that I had a problem with binge eating. And if I would have never realized that, I wouldn't be able to help people. You know, all of these things that we think are flaws or issues that we have, you can use them in a positive way to help other people. And so then I was like, I was feeling like I was in a rut with my content, and something kept nagging at me that I needed to come out about the binge eating. And so I was like, ugh. So I finally did. And it kind of skyrocketed from there as far as people reaching out to me and saying like, oh my God, I never heard anybody talk about this. This is me. And that's what vulnerability can do, is it can connect you to people that are going through the same thing as you.
Yeah.
And for somebody who's a pro bodybuilder, like they wouldn't think that they have any struggles with food, or that they're always perfect, or they just have their shit together all the time. And for me, it's like the complete opposite. It's like, no, I actually look at other pros and I'm like, do you just never struggle with binge eating? Is it just me? Am I the only one? So I just decided like I need to create a safe space for people to come out and be vulnerable and be open. So I have a private Facebook group where we do weekly Zoom meetings. We actually did one this morning, and we talked about, you know, how not to binge and how to go into the holidays, because a lot of stress is around holidays and events, because you think you're going to binge, you self-sabotage, all of these things. So it's an incredible group of women who all have struggled with the same thing, and they're doing incredible. And that's one of my favorite things that I do is that group.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think when you think of it as, you know, it's this, like you said, it was kind of like holding you knew there was something that needed to come out around that. Yeah. And generally the way through those, the way out of those things is through, right? Like getting through those and talking with other people. And when you are seen as a source of like inspiration to others, it kind of like, at least in my experience, it kind of like puts you on the hook to be like, oh, I need to lead by example, but then also be transparent when you have your own moments and fall throughs as well too. So that's what's great about, you know, the fact that you're doing that relatability piece is huge.
Yeah. Cause I felt like there was something that I was just hiding. I think I was pretending that I had it all together and that I never messed up, and that I didn't feel shame or guilt around food. And I struggled with controlling myself. And once I came out about that, it was so freeing. And I felt like, I think that was the true moment that I could say anything about my life and I didn't care. And that's who you see now. It's like, oh, I'll tell you what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Even if it's stupid.
Right. Because someone out there will relate to it for sure.
Exactly.
Because it's normal. I mean, it's normal. Speaking of the topic of food in a positive light.
Yeah.
What is now, I love watching your little, you know, your, kind of like your day in the life of eating and like what you eat in a day things. Those are always fun. And I love your little, you know, your chicken weenie sausages in your oatmeal. That's always super funny to watch you get all creative with that. But, one of the girls was asking, what is like your like guilty food pleasure when you're in prep? Like, you know, we always have those weird like prep things where you're like, ooh, this is a thing. And you make this it's exciting, but everyone else is like, that's weird.
I think for me, it's kind of hard because like there's not much that I can have that's like really off my meal plan. But I think that the way that I make my oats is my absolute favorite. And it's like super low calorie. And really it's just the oats, 2 Splenda, 4 cracks, literally exactly 4 cracks of sea salt, cinnamon, and then I put sugar-free syrup on it. And it's not really that weird, but I literally hold it like it's a newborn baby. And I'm like, I'm
and
never
you eat it with
letting
a baby
go.
spoon. Yeah.
I do eat it with a baby spoon.
I have baby spoons too.
Yep. It makes me slow down.
It does. It makes you slow down. You take little bites and you enjoy it much more when you can have it in the tiny spoon. I think that's definitely when I started sharing that in my stories. I don't know if you've shared that in your stories. I'm sure you have, but, people were just like, oh my God, you do that too. Like bodybuilders everywhere were coming out about their baby silverware.
Yes.
It's kind of funny.
It's so awesome. It's I mean, even if you're not a baby, like a bodybuilder, using baby spoons is just a good hack. If you need to have yourself slow down, if you struggle with eating too quickly, which I do.
Yeah. Same here. Okay. One personal selfish question I wanted to ask you, because you know, we're fit girls, we're in the gym, we're doing our thing. I know you have a couple different gyms you go to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you always, what I admire is you give like zero fucks in general, but you give like zero fucks when you're in the gym and you're like in the tiny little micro baby booty shorts and your cute little sports bra. And you're just like doing your thing. And the confidence is something to be desired by myself. And I just think it's so impressive. So have you always been like that?
No.
Okay. Because I've noticed like even in your older videos, it doesn't matter. Like any form that Julia's in, she's in her micro shorts. And I'm like, fucking yes, girlfriend, right there. Yeah. Like I need that in my life. Yeah.
The thing is now that I'm thinking about it, when I was in wrestling, I also had micro shorts. And that was when I was 15.
Oh, so it's just been a thing.
I guess the little baby shorts has been my thing forever now. But I did struggle with like the confidence going into the gym, as far as like thinking that everyone's judging, staring at me, like questioning if I know what the heck I'm doing. So now it's almost like when I'm in the gym, I am like on top of the world. I feel like that persona, my posing persona comes out and I'm like, I am the best. But then like out in the reality and real world, I'm walking around the mall and I'm like, head down, don't look at me. I don't want to hit you.
Awkward turtle.
It's different. So yeah, it wasn't always like that. But now I really just go into the gym and I'm there for me. I'm not there for anybody else. I don't need to look at anybody. I don't need to talk to anybody. And, like if people come up to me, which they do, I'm like, always like, hey, what's up? Like, I don't care if people do that, but I just get in the zone as far as what I'm doing, the purpose I'm there. And that helps me get out of my own way so that I don't focus on what everyone else is doing or what they're looking at, or if they see me filming my video, if they're judging me, I'm like, whatever.
It's probably such a part of like your day-to-day now, just filming content. It's like, doesn't even phase you.
No.
Carrying you. You use like an actual like vlogging camera. You don't use your phone.
Yeah. It's a vlogging camera.
Yeah. It's got that crystal clear quality. I love it. Yeah. Okay. Somebody had asked, what is your biggest struggle right now?
Ooh, that's a good one. Right now, I would, honestly, I don't have any.
That's great.
And that's, I'm trying to come up with something, but I don't have it anymore, because it was something that I could talk about, something that I just recently, got over. Absolutely. But I'm happy that I did. I'd say that the recent one was like the worthiness of being on stage with all of these Olympians that have like been doing this for years, that are much older than me. And when I was doing that video, when I was at the Arnold Expo, that's where it really hit me. And I was thinking like, who are you to be up there? Like, you can't do this, all of those thoughts that'll come in. And it lasted for a little bit, but now I'm just straight in the persona of just, I deserve to be there. And I know I do.
Yeah.
And even if I don't get it, this year, I don't care. I'll try again. I'll keep trying.
Right. It's not going to knock the wind out of your sails. Yeah. I can relate to that. I know I did my pro debut last year and I had the same thing. And I don't know if you do this, but I advise this a lot of times to my clients when they're competing, is just to start kind of like muting people who you may think are your competition or whatever. Like, you don't have to unfollow them, but just like, you don't need that like in your face. And then you just constantly go down the self-comparison trap. And so I had done that really well, like almost too well. I did not know who I was competing against. I didn't look at the IFBB list, like who the athletes were. And the day before the show, I just so happened to open my email and there was like a newsletter from the show promoter saying like new athletes added. And I didn't even dawn on me. I'm like reading it and I'm like, oh shit.
Blah, blah, blah is going to be there.
Yes. And she's an Olympian. She had just been at the Olympia in August, and this was in October. I think it was in August. And so then all of a sudden the spiral starts, and at that point I'm like, it is what it is. Like, I've done what I can do. I'm here to do my thing. And she actually went on stage right before me. She was like the competitor right before me on stage. And I'm like watching her pose. And then I'm just, it can get in your head really, really easily.
I love that advice so much. And that's one thing that I use is like, I don't scroll on social media. I use social media a lot, but I do not scroll on it. All I
Yeah.
do is I post, I get off. I answer DMs, I get off. Same thing
Really?
for TikTok and YouTube. I don't watch other people or what anybody else is doing, because it doesn't matter, you know, regardless, it's your journey. It's about what you're doing, and it doesn't matter who shows up. And it's funny because when I was a wrestler, I would do the same thing. I would have my coach check what mat I was wrestling on so that I didn't see whose name was there. And it helped me so much because I just treated that person like they were an equal instead of higher than me or lower than me. And we do that as humans. Like, we think that there's this hierarchical stance with everyone. And really, if you just treat everyone like human at a human level, then you're just going to show up and be way better. So I don't know who's competing in my show. I probably won't know until I show up and I see them there.
I just think that's the best way to go in, because you don't have your mental real estate taken over by any kind of like thoughts of comparison or who am I? Oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And then, you know, I always say that, you know, your head is a scary place to live sometimes. And so if you can just omit some of that ahead of time, you're doing yourself a huge favor.
Oh yeah, I agree. And that even goes for people that aren't bodybuilders. You know, if there's, curate your feed for how you want to feel, you know, like follow people that are going to be positive, be inspiring. They're going to be transparent, you know, that make you feel good. A good test to see if that happens is like, if you go and you scroll and you kind of see someone and they give you that icky feeling and you know that feeling, just unfollow or just stop scrolling. And I've done that a lot. I only follow people that I'm like, I know that they're going to make me feel good if they pop up on my feed. Because that's the thing about Instagram and TikTok. As soon as you open it, it's feed. So you see it right, and it's hard not to get sucked in.
Shiny objects everywhere.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay. Last couple questions, and then I'm going to let you get on with your day. Curiosity from my crew of how tall you are, which you said you're 5'2". What your measurements are. Because you know, they're like trying to figure out how big are my quads.
So my waist is 26 inches. My glutes are 41, I think. My quads are 26 inches.
Okay. And your stage weight you had talked about was like 120 something, right?
My stage weight, the last show was 138, but we're trying to get pretty lower than that because I still wasn't lean enough on my pro debut. Or my pro show.
Good old prep time.
Yeah.
You'll be grinding, my friend. That's the name of the game. And then last but not least, any advice? What would your advice be to first-time competitors?
My advice to first-time competitors was really focus on your mindset during prep. Like, it is not about the destination. All of the good stuff that comes out of prep is in the journey. So if you can enjoy the journey of prep and take what you can from it, learn as much as you can about yourself, about how you react into situations, because I have learned so much about myself prepping for shows, more in these last couple of years than my whole life. It has it puts you in a chance to get to know your shadows and what makes you tick. And I've learned so much about myself. So use it as a vehicle for transformation, and not just for the physical, but more importantly, the mental, because that's what's going to get you further.
Girl, I couldn't have said it better myself. I talk about that so often, you know, because much like, you know, stage is like 30 seconds.
Oh yeah. And if you know, take your prep.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, now that we're pros, it's like you get a minute and, you know, 15, a minute and 30 seconds, but it is gone so fast. And, you know, it's like, enjoy that day as much as you can, enjoy the stage time, but really, you know, what you said was just the process in getting there, you know, and not waking up dreading every single thing. Like, I don't know about you, but cardio is not my favorite. But it has to be done. And so, you know, we do things to make it more enjoyable as we can. Like my last prep, I'm not going to lie, I spent a lot of time watching your YouTube videos because I was on the freaking stairmill for 45 minutes, you know, a couple times a day sometimes. And so it was just, and just in hindsight now, you know, it led me to us now getting on a podcast together because, you know, my girlfriend was like, she was my cardio support buddy. And, she's like, hey, you know, you should watch Renee. She's really funny. She's entertaining. And so I was like, okay. And then I just like down the wormhole and I was like video after video, and it was great, you know? So yeah. So exactly. Just the whole process. I hate to be like woo woo, you know, enjoy the journey, but it is, you have to.
Yeah. Because your prep is maybe 16 weeks minimum, or 12 if you're a lucky duck. But are you going to spend that whole time being miserable about the circumstances that you decided to choose? Or are you going to make the most of it, learn as much about the sport, about yourself, about what you can take, how far you can push? Or you're going to waste that time, you know? Love that journey and the stage time. Don't wait to be happy when you get on stage, because that's not going to last long.
No. And then you're left. I don't know if you experience like the post show, like,
my first show, like, I fell off the rails and was like, who am I? What do I do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What am I going to do with my life now? You know, everything is so structured, and then you're done.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah. What happens next?
What now?
Yeah. Yeah. A little too much freedom after that sometimes for me, but
agreed.
Yeah. Well, this was a pleasure. I had a great time. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate you and your time and all the amazing content that you put out for everybody. So, tell us where we can find you, all of your socials, plug anything. I know you're also, you know, a sponsored, you have a lot of things going, like you're with Firstform and you have all the things. So tell us all the things where we can find you. I'll link up everything in the show notes as well.
Yeah. So almost like basically everywhere I'm _ Julia Renee, and the Renee is with 1 E. I guess basically the link in my Instagram bio has everything that you can possibly need ever. It has my YouTube, it has my TikTok, it has coaching, it has my new Know Your Power journal, the support groups that I have. It's everything basically.
Okay. Well, I'll head over there and snag all those links and put them in the show notes so everybody can click and access all things the Fairy Quad Mother. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing your next videos as they come out, and good luck with everything and your shows this season. You're going to do phenomenal, and we can't wait to just see you shine on stage. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.